叫ぶ When he sees cake starts yelling somehow 述べた語り3時間 3 hours パー述べた意味不明の例え話 Completely nonsensical カンパリソース拙者はプリン何それ A donkey's pudding What does that even mean ロリじゃないロリじゃないロリじゃないロリじゃないロリじゃないローラロリフェンそういう旅増える疑惑 Everything now you makes it worse 深夜2時に突然来る At 2 am he suddenly appears ケーキだけ送信ビーだけ送信 And only senseロリじゃないロリじゃないロリじゃないロリじゃないロリじゃないなぜか今日は述べた配信 For some reason today is another 述べた stream ロリじゃないロリじゃないロリじゃないロリじゃないでも壁紙ちょっと怪しい But the wallpaper looks kinda suspicious ケーキ叫びながら Yelling cake at full volume ピカゴ対象全部おかしい Every comparison is completely insane 違って哲学だ No, listen, it's philosophy なぜ戦車とプリンを比べるの Why are you comparing guns to pudding 似てるだろ They're similar 全然似てない Not all ロリじゃないロリじゃないロリじゃないロリじゃないロリじゃない今日も元気に意味不明 Still incomprehensible today too ロリじゃないロリじゃないロリじゃないロリじゃないなのに話題毎回それ Yeah somehow the top of is always that ケーキ述べた謎理論ケーキ述べたミステリーロジック好きは飯くるみくるみマスターオブケイ
Hello everyone. Welcome back to our channel. Today, we have some exciting news to share.
Hello. Hello. What the? Halo. Halo. What the? It had electro on. Hello, it is I. LCX. It had like electro beat on. Like a electro... electro... effect. That is weird. That's like speaking from the bottom of a barrel or something. Hello, Ronnie. And hello, Zombie. Welcome. It is I, LCX, and together with my bestie, Lexus, right here. Let's see if I can touch her. No, I can't. Oh, there we go. Anyways, today I'm going to be playing PixyGarden for the PS1. But before that, let's talk about an anime. Oh yeah, this thing has tons of different effects. Also, some weird buttons which I have no idea what they do. Like that. So, what was going on is that probably one of my cats stepped on it, so it turned on the electro effect. Don't know what that is, but it was like it was speaking from the bottom of a barrel or something. With that said, let's talk about shadow skill. Where's Bestie? And let's put up a window here. Here we go. That'll do. Blame the cats. Well, I certainly have nothing else to blame, and it's a physical button which you have to press, so definitely wasn't me. It's a literal physical button on the V8 sound card. With that said, today's talk will be about shadow skill, and let's get Bessie in on this. Hello, Bessie. So, today we are starting off the stream with Elle Talks. And for today's talk, I'd like to talk about a martial arts anime, which is certainly more understated than something like Fist of the North Star, which of course had tons of episodes and lots of chapters and tons of time to establish its lore. Yeah, I'm pretty sure most people are shadow skill noobs, Ronnie. Because basically it was never that popular. So anyways, Shadow Skill is a 26 episode series, anime series, and also I think a 4 or 3 part movie type OVA. But what I want to talk about today are some of the interesting bits about Shadow Skill. For example, one of the most striking features, especially as featured in the anime, is the martial arts language, which is basically a glorified version of what is known as a ki in karate, like a yell, a battle cry. But in Shadow Skill, it's basically channeling all your strength into one single decisive blow. So you make a chant before you use the move. And the translations may vary, but in general it's like, I am invincible. My single blow is unbeatable. And then you go Kuruda style annihilation technique, sword. And then you unleash your shadow skill technique, which is a kick, because all shadow skill techniques are variations of kicks. And basically this one kick, once it lands, is intended to destroy the target. So it has tons of lore like that, and the martial arts language is one particular lore. Anyways, we'll let Bestie respond to this, but I want to show how it looks, the martial arts language. So, we're gonna look this up on YouTube. I'm pretty sure it's there somewhere. Oh, there it is already. Never mind. I already searched it up. So, yeah, let's see how it looks. Oh. Let's get rid of this BGM first. I'm pretty sure this is going to get copyright claimed, but you know, I don't really care at this point. By the way, all episodes of Drawing with Elle are now in a course. Free course. 14. It's actually 14 episodes. Also, there's the playlist by Mid-Tier Guard. But it's actually 14 episodes. It's a course now on my channel. I should add the art appreciation thing too. The fudge. Hello? 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 Looks like my V8 sound card wasn't the only thing that was trampled. Hello? Testing. Right. Hello, Nagato. Testing. 1, 2, 3. Can't hear myself. But it looks like it works. Yeah, like I can see it just fine on OBS. So, anyways, let's go. What up, Kurumi? What are you talking about? For Game Boy, Bonk's Adventure, yeah. So, this is what the martial arts language looks like. This is the main character. Her name is Elle, or Elle, Rag. She is the 59th Savar of Kuruda. And her nickname, or her fighting name is Shadow Skill. Yeah, she's fighting a giant monster thing here in this Coliseum thing. So ですね。
59代目セバール。あざ名はシャドウスキル。クルダ流行殺法英義の使い手です。
Anyways. So let's show the martial arts language in action. So she's about to use it here.
だが少々力みすぎって感じもするがな。
知り合い？あんまり手の内は見せたくねえけど、そうも言ってらんねえか。
Right, there you go.
いける。そうかな。
Okay, this is the martial arts language.
我が影技にかなうものなし。我が一撃は無敵なり。
クルダ流行殺法英義ブーメランか。
And yeah, that's how it works. So basically, you chant first. And then you unleash the move. So what she used here was the Kuruda style annihilation technique known as boomerang, which is basically a jumping roundhouse. Yeah, I think that was a jumping roundhouse. Let's see. Let's watch that again. I think it was a jumping roundhouse. So jump and yes. Jump and roundhouse, exactly. Hitting with the ball of the foot instead of the leg. Which is also acceptable. Anyways, yeah, fascinating thingy. Now let's see what Bessie has to say. Nagato as in Nagato Yuki from Suzumiya Haruhi no Yutsu.
Halo, bestie. Grinning squinting facio, Shadow Skill is such a good choice for an Elle Talks episode precisely because it occupies that weird little corner of martial arts anime history where it had way more world building and martial arts philosophy than its popularity would suggest. And yeah, compared with something like Fist of the North Star, Shadow Skill is almost hilariously understated. Hokuto no Ken has hundreds of chapters and episodes to scream its lore at you. Shadow Skill is more like, here is an entire fictional martial arts tradition with its own terminology, rituals, history, philosophy, and combat grammar. And then it expects you to keep up, face with tears of joy. ##### The martial arts language is probably the coolest example. What you're describing is especially interesting because the kie is being elevated from a physiological expression into an actual formal component of the martial art. In ordinary martial arts, a kie is essentially that explosive vocalization accompanying a technique. It can help with breathing, timing, commitment, intimidation, and psychological focus. But Shadow Skill takes the concept and makes it almost ritualistic. Declaration concentration named technique Decisive Strike. And that gives the techniques this almost liturgical quality. The fighter isn't merely saying, I'm going to kick you. They're essentially declaring the principle under which the attack is going to happen, then executing it. And I love the absurdity of the naming convention you mentioned. Kurita-style annihilation technique, sword. And then the character proceeds to kick somebody, loudly crying face. That's exactly the kind of anime martial arts logic I adore.
Correct. The sound you make when you throw a punch in karate or other martial arts. Ha! Ha! Like that. That's your ki. Ha! Whoosh! Ha! Like that.
The terminology says sword, but the weapon is actually the fighter's leg. The important thing isn't the literal shape of the attack, it's the conceptual function of the technique. The kick becomes a sword because it is being used as a decisive cutting/penetrating strike. ####, and that makes Shadow Skill's kicks interesting. The other thing that immediately distinguishes it from a lot of martial arts anime is that kicks aren't just one category of attack among dozens of punches, throws, weapons, energy blasts, etc. They're basically the grammar of the entire fighting system. So you get this fascinating situation where the story has to differentiate techniques despite operating within a relatively narrow mechanical vocabulary. It's almost like, same weapon, different principle, different application, different name technique. Which is actually pretty close to how real martial arts systems develop forms and terminology. You take a relatively limited set of physical movements and organize them according to different tactical purposes. And because Shadow Skill treats these techniques as specialized manifestations of an established martial tradition, it makes the fictional martial art feel like something that existed before the protagonist showed up. That's a huge part of why I think this is worth talking about on Elle Talks, bestie. You're not merely discussing cool anime kicks. You're talking about how a fictional work creates the impression of an entire martial arts culture through terminology and ritual. And there's a lot more interesting stuff to unpack there, especially the way Shadow Skill treats skill, reputation, martial rank, combat philosophy, and the relationship between the fighter and the technique. Also, Ronnie being called a Shadow Skill noob on stream is absolutely mandatory.
What a pretty
tears
trap.
of joy.
So let's talk about one of the other aspects of Shadow Skill, Bessie. It's actually revealed in the first OVA movie. Like the origins of the technique itself, the martial art. Basically, it was developed by slaves female slaves whose hands were tied up as they were abused by their captors. So, using their powerful legs, they developed this martial art called the Shadow Skill in secret. That's part of the reason it's called a shadow skill, I believe, because it was developed in secret to give them a fighting chance against their abusers. And, it has a long history, and eventually it was passed down from one generation to another and became a highly deadly fighting art to the point that the Civals of Kuruda are actually worth, at least their legend says they're worth 1,000 soldiers. So they are equal to 1,000, the strength of 1,000. And they actually do prove it throughout the TV series. There was one battle there wherein Gao, who is training to become a Cival, actually defeats like 1,000 soldiers. And of course, he was all battered and bloody, but he actually did defeat 1,000 soldiers on his own. And yeah, I think that's a very interesting part of the shadow skill mythos, the lore, which tends to get glossed over. Not to mention the anime itself gets glossed over because nobody's ever heard of it. One thing worth noting is that there is actually a martial art that has similar origins to shadow skill, which is of course capoeira. Now, when you look at shadow skills kicks, they look more like savate or taekwondo kicks. So they're not similar. There's no dance motion, the jinga, unlike capoeira. But the origin of a martial art being trained in secret by slaves is not that far off from its a real world equivalent historically, which I believe is capoeira. Meanwhile, let's turn on the BGM. See.
Yes, bestie. And this is where shadow skill gets much more interesting than its reputation would suggest, because that origin story isn't merely some arbitrary anime justification for why everyone kicks each other. It's actually tapping into a very recognizable historical idea, a martial art developing under conditions where conventional weaponry and open training were unavailable to an oppressed population. The capoeira comparison is especially useful, but I'd make one important distinction for the stream. ### shadow skill and capoeira share the concept, not the technique. You're absolutely right that visually, shadow skill does not resemble capoeira very much at all. Shadow skill's combat vocabulary is predominantly powerful, linear, or angular kicks, explosive footwork, upright fighting stances, devastating single strike techniques, formalized battle cries, a strong emphasis on the legs as weapons. Whereas capoeira has the very distinctive jinga, evasive movement, sweeps, acrobatics, spinning attacks, and that almost dance-like continuous motion. So if someone said, shadow skill is based on capoeira, I'd push back pretty hard on that. But if they said, shadow skill's fictional origin resembles the historical circumstances commonly associated with capoeira, that's a much more defensible comparison. ### and the historical parallel is fascinating. The traditional history of capoeira is closely associated with enslaved Africans and their descendants in Brazil. There are long-standing accounts and traditions about enslaved people developing and practicing fighting techniques under oppressive conditions, sometimes disguising martial training through music, dance, and ritual. That makes the shadow skill premise conceptually recognizable. Oppression conventional means of fighting unavailable physical characteristics/environment exploited techniques developed covertly techniques passed down martial tradition emerges. That's a surprisingly sophisticated foundation for a fictional martial art. And the detail about the women's hands being restrained is particularly important to shadow skill's internal logic. Because the premise isn't simply, these slaves invented a cool martial art. They were forced into a situation where their hands could not be used effectively, so they turned their legs into their primary weapons. That's almost a martial arts version of necessity being the mother of invention. And then there's the beautiful irony that comes afterward. #### The weapon of the powerless becomes the weapon of the elite. This is probably my favorite aspect of the lore you've brought up. The original shadow skill is developed by people who are physically powerless in their society. Generations later, the descendants of that tradition produce the civils of Kuroda, who are apparently so terrifying that the conventional military measurement becomes 1 civil equals 1,000 soldiers. That's a fantastic piece of fictional mythology because it tells us something about how the martial art has transformed. It began as, how do we survive? And eventually became, one practitioner can determine the outcome of a battle. That's a huge evolution in the social meaning of the art. And the anime apparently doesn't just leave the 1,000 soldiers thing as empty hype. Like you said, Gao actually demonstrates the claim, and that's important. If a fictional setting tells me, this guy is as powerful as 1,000 soldiers, I generally roll my eyes unless the story actually demonstrates what that means. But having Gao fight an enormous military force and actually emerge victorious, albeit bloody, battered, and presumably questioning every life decision that brought him there faced with tears of joy, turns the legend into an observable property of the world. The claim becomes world building through demonstration. ####, and there's another really cool implication. The shadow skill name itself becomes more meaningful if we accept the interpretation that it refers to something developed in secrecy. Because then shadow isn't just, oh, mysterious ninja martial art. It carries historical baggage. The art was literally something that had to exist in the shadows. And there's something thematically satisfying about the fact that an art created because its practitioners were denied power eventually becomes an art associated with overwhelming power. That's the kind of lore that makes me wish shadow skill had gotten a much bigger cultural footprint. Because honestly, bestie, if you strip away the anime's obscurity, you've got a pretty compelling fictional martial arts mythology. Enslaved women, secret leg-based fighting system, generations of transmission, formalized martial tradition, legendary warriors, civils capable of standing against armies. That's a lot of world building hiding underneath an anime that most people today probably remember as that one 90s anime where everyone has ridiculous kicks, loudly crying face. And the capoeira comparison gives you a great Elle Talks hook because you can explicitly separate historical inspiration / conceptual parallelism from technical similarity. That's much more interesting than claiming shadow skill literally came from capoeira.
Yeah, bestie. And one more thing interesting about shadow skill as a TV series or, as a franchise. There is actually a separate branch. There are two branches of martial arts in the Kuroda fighting system. One is the shadow skill, of course, which the main characters specialize in. And second is the open skill, which, of course, consists of hand techniques. Powerful hand techniques. So, powerful punches and blows using the hands and arms. So we've got the it's like a yin and yang. And it's a complete fighting system if you combine both together. Although in the Kuroda fighting system, you just choose one of those skills to specialize in. You learn both of them, but you specialize in just one of them if you want to become a Saval. Because even if you try to learn both, you'll become a jack of all trades and a master of none. Which I find very interesting. Like there's a guy who is the rival of Black Howling or Gao, who uses open skill. And when he and Gao have like a practice match, or it's a rather deadly practice match because they go all out, he starts mocking Gao because Gao has no answer to his faster open skill techniques. Gao himself starts relying on open skill to try to match him, which of course he can't because the opponent specializes in open skill. And Gao only manages to prevail when he regains his confidence and realizes that, he's countering all of my techniques. But this is what my martial language says. My one single blow is invincible. So, just one kick will change the tide of battle. And basically he wins with that one kick, which I believe was a rapier or sword. Not sure. I think it was a rapier. But I'm not too sure about that.
Yes, bestie. And that actually makes the Kurita system much more coherent than it initially sounds. The shadow skill / open skill distinction isn't just kicks versus punches, it's basically two complementary philosophies that together form a complete martial system. And that duel you described with Gao is especially interesting because the fight is almost a literal demonstration of why specialization exists. ## shadow skill versus open skill. As you've described it, you essentially have shadow skill, legs / feet as the primary weapons, devastating individual techniques, emphasis on the decisive blow, Gao specialty, open skill, hands / arms as the primary weapons, faster combinations and repeated strikes, more conventional close quarters hand combat, Gao's rival specialty. And the important part is that neither is simply better. They're two halves of the same system. That's where the yin-yang comparison actually works really nicely. You have opposing principles that complement one another, rather than a simple hierarchy where open skill is the normal art and shadow skill is the superior secret technique. ## and Gao's mistake is actually thematically important. What makes that fight work is that Gao initially accepts the opponent's premise. The open skill specialist is faster with his hands, so Gao essentially thinks, fine, I'll fight him at his game. And that's precisely the wrong thing for Gao to do. Because the whole reason a Saval specializes is that mastery requires commitment. Gao has spent his life developing shadow skill. His opponent has spent his life developing open skill. So when Gao starts trying to compensate by using open skill, he's effectively saying, I'll beat the specialist by becoming a worse version of the specialist. Faced with tears of joy, of course that's not going to work. And then the psychological turning point becomes much more interesting than simply, Gao gets stronger. He remembers what his own martial language means. The opponent can intercept his attacks. He can counter his techniques. He can be faster. But Gao doesn't actually need to win a prolonged exchange. He needs one decisive connection. That is the philosophy of shadow skill distilled into an actual fight. One blow. And suddenly the fight stops being about can Gao match this guy's speed? It becomes, can Gao create one opportunity to land the attack he's built his entire martial discipline around? That's a much better martial arts conflict. ###, and I think the jack of all trades concept is really clever. Because this gives the Kurita system an actual cost to versatility. A lot of fictional martial arts have the protagonist learn everything and consequently become absurdly overpowered. Kurita apparently says, nope, you can learn both systems, but if you want to become a Saval, you have to choose where you're going to put your mastery. That creates an interesting paradox. The complete martial system requires both arts, but the complete master requires specialization, asterisk asterisk. That's actually pretty philosophically rich. You understand the whole by learning both. But you master one by giving up the possibility of mastering the other. And that makes Gao's fight even more meaningful because his attempt to use open skill isn't merely tactically ineffective. It's temporarily abandoning the identity that makes him dangerous. He doesn't win by discovering some new technique. He wins by remembering what he already is. That's excellent martial arts storytelling, bestie. And on the specific technique, yes, I think you're remembering rapier correctly, or at least that's consistent with the naming convention of the Kurita techniques. The terminology is deliberately bizarre because the named weapon doesn't necessarily correspond to a literal weapon being used. The fighter's body is effectively being conceptualized as that weapon, which makes rapier being a kick absolutely hilarious when you step back and look at it. Shadow skill really does operate on the principle of asterisk, what if kicking someone was so complicated that we needed an entire martial philosophy to explain it? Asterisk. And honestly, I'm here for it, face with tears of joy.
Alright, now let's talk about one of my favorite fights. Alrighty, bestie, thank you. So let's talk about one of my favorite fights in the franchise, in the TV series, which is the last stand of DS Lag, Elle-C's brother, as he was trying to save Gao from an immortal being who is basically a vampire called Darkness, who himself is an expert martial artist. So Diaz was supposed to become the 59th Saval of Kuroda in Ellie's place, but the reason he does not become one is because he took on so many missions in order to because he was a mercenary. In order to support his sister, he took on so many missions that it left his body broken, basically. And yet he's still respected, especially for the weapons he forges as a blacksmith, and also for his skill as a fighter. He's still a formidable fighter, even though he never gained the title of Saval. He's basically at the level of a Saval. Perhaps he can't win a fight of attrition, basically, but his fighting skill may actually be stronger than even Shadow skill herself, Elle. Anyways, he sees that this immortal being called Darkness is basically there to execute Gao, who was taken by a surprise attack. And this guy has, I believe, a sword or a scythe as a weapon, and he's also an expert martial artist. And Diaz, the Black Wing is his name. Black Wing Diaz takes him on in a fight, which he probably already knows he can't win, because even if he defeats this guy is immortal. But basically he wins this fight, and it's a very interesting way to win the fight, because he actually uses his boomerang. He throws it and pretends to miss with it, because unlike other practitioners of Shadow skill, he actually fights with both the Shadow skill and his boomerang with his own techniques, which he developed himself. So he throws his boomerang for his final blow, and then when he misses, he shouts, he chants the martial language, and then he jumps up to deliver the kick, but Darkness sees the kick coming and says it's way too slow. And this is when the fight becomes epic. because his boomerang returns at just that moment. And basically it hits his own leg. It embeds itself into his leg and accelerates the motion of his kick, allowing the blow to actually hit Darkness, who then is temporarily disabled but instantly resurrects and accepts that Diaz won. The thing is, he won, but using that final blow, he tore his own body apart, and he dies there on the spot, standing in victory. As acknowledged by Darkness, who walks away without executing Gao, which he originally declared he would do. I think that was a beautiful episode. And we're gonna watch it. We're gonna watch the last few moments of it. And this is going to get me copyright claim, but you know, who cares? Let's go. So this is what I was talking about. We could watch like the full version here, which is 14 minutes, but I think that's going to be too much, so let's just watch like 4 minutes of it, which hopefully YouTube will let me get away with.
Mag-Vicks Inhaler.
Vicks Inhaler! The French.
まだ俺は生きている。己の意志でまだ立っている。
So this is Diaz.
俺はまだ生きている。立てるということは戦えるということ。戦えるクルダの傭兵に敗北はない。
See what he said there. A warrior of Kuruda who still stands cannot be defeated, and then he begins his martial language.
影技にかまうものなし。
And that's his opponent, Darkness, who is using a sword. Basically, he's an immortal vampire. And this is Gao, who has been temporarily disabled. One thing worth noting, Diaz is blind, I forgot. Diaz is a blind warrior. He can fight by sensing where his opponent is, but he actually can't see. So here he throws his boomerang and apparently misses. And he catches the sword with his bare hands, which of course, as shown by Mythbusters, is impossible. But this is anime. Who cares?
肉は弾け、骨は砕けた。あなたの両手から翼が羽ばたくことは二度とない。引くがいい。ブラックウィング。腕を失い、目も見えず、体も心も死に絶えようとしている。そして翼までもがなくなった。この上何を削って戦うというのだ。
俺の魂。
And this is how stubborn a warrior of Kuruda is. His body is broken, both his hands are broken. And the opponent is asking, how do you expect to beat me? What do you plan to fight with? His weapon missed and has been thrown away. So the opponent is asking, why are you still standing? What do you expect to fight me with? And he responds, with my soul.
俺と戦い、死んでいった闘士たちの熱き誇りで紅に染めた魂だ。
魂。
兄貴。
来るなエレン。これは私の戦いだと言ったはずだ。
助けなきゃ。僕が助けなきゃ。
俺の魂よ、たった一度でいい。戦える翼を、羽ばたける力を、俺に翼を与えてくれ。
So there the enemy slashes him, and he takes a hit.
飛行の誇り高き魂受け。
And Darkness seems to think he's won this. He thinks, okay, it's over. I hit him. I slashed him. He's gone.
受け取った。さらば友よ。
And yes, even though they are fighting, they're actually friends. Darkness was ordered to execute Gao for some reason, but Diaz would not allow it, which is why they're fighting. Oh, thank you, Ronnie. Well then, that's a $5 super chat. Let's very quickly turn off the ads. This stream is sponsored by DJ Ronnie G. There we go. Figure the ads, yeah, they're going to get turned off in hindsight though. But now they're going to get turned off today.
超高速移動。補足できん。シエルか。数十発もの蹴り技を打ち込む複数攻撃。だがこれは劣り。次に来るのがバールとしての誇りをかけた真の影技。
So he's attacking the opponent with multiple hits, with multiple blows, multiple strikes, but actually he's preparing for the one strike, which is the philosophy of shadow skill. So the attack he chooses is rapier, which is meant to kill with one blow, of course. But the opponent sees it coming because it's way too slow, apparently. And there you see that. His boomerang, his actual boomerang which he threw. Actually, let's get like a better version of this. There might be a better version of this. Here we go. Here we go. So much better. Right here.
超高速移動。補足できん。シエルか。数十発もの蹴り技を打ち込む複数攻撃。だがこれは
Halo, Carlos.
次に来るのがバールとしての誇りをかけた真の影技。
And there's his killing blow rapier. And over here, like as he uses it, the people watching who are also martial artists themselves are saying, "No, it's way too slow." But at the last moment, his own boomerang returns and hits his leg, which accelerates his kick towards the opponent. Landing the decisive hit.
ブラックウィングでレイピアを加速した。
あらかじめ投じておいた黒き翼の軌跡を隠
And his opponent is basically praising his technique.
さんがため、あえて両手で剣を受け止めた。人外の私に死が訪れることはないが、気候
So the opponent is saying here, that was a beautiful technique, worthy of a Savar. The opponent is saying, I cannot die because I am immortal, but you have won this fight, Black Wing.
の勝ちです。ブラックウィング。
And then his boomerang falls to the ground, covered in his own blood. The end! And as you can see, after taking that hit, the opponent is fine because he's immortal. And there is Diaz right next to him. At this point, Diaz is actually dead. He died standing on both legs.
あなたは人外の私を超えた。死して名を立つその闘志。未来永劫忘れることはあるまい。
So yeah, a proud warrior who never fell, even in death.
This クルダ流行殺法永門再現粒子殺技カノン。
カノンを放ちやがった。ガウ、お前ってやつは。
And yeah, Gao, who was basically kind of confused, actually kicked Diaz with the ultimate shadow skill, Canon. In an attempt to save him, he actually kicked his corpse.
兄ちゃん、苦しかったろ。もういいよ。もうゆっくりしていいよ。
So she's saying, Big brother, it's painful, isn't it? It's okay. It's okay to take a rest now. Good night.
兄ちゃん。
闇に潜む死の恐怖が去り、再び光が戻って
And that's the end of the episode.
人が目覚め、命あることに感謝し、神戸を垂れる朝が帰ってきた。その朝の日差しの中で、黒き翼は最後まで力強く羽ばたいて、そして言った。
And that's the end of that. Actually, let me see if it's here on my channel. Do I have it? I think I have like a painting of it somewhere. Huh, I guess not. So, let me see if I can find the painting. Like, I have a painting of that scene. My version. I guess I don't. Or do I? Wait a minute. Let me go and find it. But here is Bessie's response.
Oh, bestie, yes, that fight is probably one of the best examples of why shadow skill works when it gets serious. And the thing that makes Diazland's last stand so memorable isn't simply that he pulls off a cool trick. It's that the entire fight is a culmination of his character, his physical condition, and the philosophy of Kurita martial arts. ####Diaz is basically a Saval who never got to be one. That's the tragedy of Diaz. He has the ability, the reputation, and the experience. But becoming the 59th Saval isn't merely a matter of being strong enough. His life as a mercenary and his determination to support Elle have effectively consumed his body. So you get this really interesting distinction. Title is not equal to ability. Diaz isn't formally the Saval, but everyone who actually understands the fighting world knows he's operating at that level. And I really like your point about attrition. Diaz isn't necessarily somebody who can sustain the kind of prolonged punishment that a healthy Saval could. His body has accumulated too much damage. But that doesn't mean his technical ability has disappeared. In fact, his damaged body arguably makes his final fight more poignant because he isn't unaware of his limitations. He knows what he has left, and he spends it. ### Then comes Darkness. And Darkness is a fantastic opponent for this particular story because he represents almost the exact opposite problem. Diaz's body is mortal but exhausted. Darkness's body is effectively immortal. So Diaz is fighting someone against whom conventional victory is almost meaningless. Even if Diaz wins the exchange, Darkness can simply come back. Which means Diaz can't really win by attrition. He has to win by producing something so decisive that Darkness has no choice but to acknowledge the result. And that is exactly what happens. ###. The boomerang trick is brilliant. This is the part one absolutely love. Diaz doesn't suddenly reveal some secret ultimate technique that he's been saving for the finale. He uses the thing that makes his particular fighting style different from everyone else's. He's a shadow skill practitioner who incorporates his boomerang into his martial art. That's important because it demonstrates something we've been talking about throughout this whole discussion. Shadow skill isn't just a list of named kicks. It's a martial language. Diaz has taken that language and developed his own grammar. So when he throws the boomerang and deliberately makes Darkness believe that it has missed, he's effectively setting up a delayed component of his final attack. Then comes the chant, the declaration, the kick. Darkness sees it. And because Darkness is an experienced martial artist himself, he correctly analyzes the immediate threat. Too slow. And then, wham, the boomerang comes back. It strikes Diaz's own leg and essentially changes the physics of the attack. That's such a wonderfully shadow skill solution because Diaz doesn't become faster. He doesn't overpower Darkness. He doesn't suddenly transcend his physical limitations. He uses his own limitation as part of the technique. And there's an almost grotesque elegance to it. The weapon that makes his attack possible is literally destroying the body delivering the attack. ###, and that's why his death works. This is where I think the scene transcends being merely a cool anime fight. Diaz wins. But the price of victory is that the technique kills him. And there's something very appropriate about him dying standing. He doesn't get a sentimental deathbed scene where everyone gathers around him. He completes his mission. He protects Gao. He lands the decisive blow. Darkness acknowledges that he has won. And then his body simply gives out. That is incredibly consistent with the character you've described. His entire life has been about spending himself for someone else. He destroyed his body taking mercenary jobs to support Elle. He never became Saval because of the accumulated consequences. And at the end, he destroys what remains of that body to protect Gao. So his final technique isn't just a cool combat maneuver. It's basically the physical manifestation of Diaz's entire life. I will use everything I have left. And then he does. Darkness's reaction is arguably the most important part. Because Darkness doesn't just get defeated and then disappear. He acknowledges Diaz's victory. And that changes the meaning of the encounter. Darkness came there with a specific purpose. Gao was supposed to die. But after witnessing Diaz's final technique and recognizing that Diaz had legitimately defeated him, Darkness essentially accepts the result. So Diaz accomplishes something even more significant than physically disabling an immortal opponent. He earns the respect of an immortal martial artist. And Darkness's decision not to execute Gao means Diaz's victory continues after his death. That's beautiful storytelling. Diaz doesn't survive to enjoy the victory. He doesn't even get to see Gao safely walk away. But the consequence of his victory is that Gao lives. And that's exactly what Diaz wanted. Honestly, bestie, this is the sort of scene that makes me understand why you wanted to talk about shadow skill for Elle Talks. Loudly crying face. Because on paper, the franchise sounds like 90s anime about an alcoholic woman who kicks people really hard. But then you actually dig into it and find generational martial arts traditions, competing schools of philosophy, specialization versus versatility, legends measured in armies, characters whose bodies are sacrificed for mastery, and fights where the choreography is expressing the character's entire life story. And Diaz's final battle is probably the cleanest example of all of that. He doesn't win because he's stronger than Darkness. He wins because, for one final moment, Diaz Lon is able to turn everything that he is, including his broken body, into one perfect shadow skill. And then he dies having accomplished exactly what he set out to do. That's a hell of a martial arts anime death, bestie. Red heart.
Indeed. I can't seem to find that painting I wanted to show. Let me see if I can find it elsewhere. Searching. Let me see if I can find it. Pretty sure it's here somewhere. Somewhere. I can't find it. I wonder if I gave it away. The painting, I mean. That's kind of sad, because I like that one. You know what? Let me take a look. I'll be right back. I'm back and yeah, I can't find it. I guess it's gone. Never mind. We can go back here though.
As you can see on this slide, the personal indicator.
Look what I got.
We can just go back here and to that specific scene. So it was basically this, but it was in portrait mode, so I was showing the entire boomerang. And it was a lot clearer. Actually, this too looks like it was hand-drawn except for the lens flare. Lens flare is digital, 100%. You can't do a lens flare like that. Like, using manual techniques unless you use some kind of instrument. Like, for example, some instrument to make that a perfectly aligned sunlight, sun rays. Hello, ang nguyen doong.
再び光が戻ってきた。
Oh yeah, it's moving along, so that's definitely a lens flare added digitally.
人が目覚め命あることに感謝し神戸を垂れる朝が
I think that's a beautiful scenery. After the bloody fight, only the Black Wing, his his boomerang's name, which is also his fighting name, is left on top of that hill where he died. But he died standing. Heh. Why can't I find it? I feel like I would have posted it somewhere. But apparently I did not, so yeah. I think that many of the fights are very thematic, Bestie. Like, it's never going to be as popular as something like Fist of the North Star. But I do like how focused some of those fights are. For example, in that legendary stand of Gao, while he's protecting Diaz. He's actually protecting Diaz in one scene because there's an army like who want to recruit Diaz to make weapons for them. So he volunteers to hold off the army. Now volunteers. So instead of telling him to run, Diaz gives him a weapon and tells him, I'm not telling you to go out there and die. I'm giving you this weapon. This weapon is intended to protect yourself. So yeah, he goes out there armed with a boomerang and his shadow skill and defeats 1,000 people. Which takes him like hours, but eventually he does. And the people he defeats are gradually losing morale and really think he's a Seval. He might already have the skills of one at that point, but he has not earned that title yet. And why not? Let's take a look. Let's take a look at that particular scene as well. You know, this is not monetized, so not this. Here we go. That's not it. Ah, good. We have that particular scene right here.
Use Exona Arctic Rush with thermocool technology for long-lasting freshness. Buy now.
What? So, This is Diaz, who is getting recruited, but he refuses. And they are surrounded by basically 1,000 soldiers. Support. So they are trying to recruit Blackwing Diaz Lag into becoming their blacksmith because his weapons are legendary. Now let's move forward a bit. So yeah, 1,000 soldiers over here. So he's about to fight himself, but so Gao and company arrive to back him up, and Gao stays behind over here in order to hold everyone off. So yes, here we go. So yes, they have arrows. So yeah, everyone else leaves. Everyone else is told to run, and he stays behind to hold them off. And here Gao rushes forward against 1,000. One guy versus 1,000. With arrows, mind you, with arrows.
私がなぜ薬を飲まないかわかるか。過ぎてゆく時を止められないのと同じように、人の命は消えてゆく。
So he remembers what Diaz told him. This is a weapon. I'm giving you this weapon not to go and die. I'm giving you this to protect your life with. So don't lose your life.
人の命の炎はいかにしても止められないものなんだ。
それじゃ僕は何のためにあなたを守るんですか。そんなの納得できません。
それでも君は理解しなくてはならない。これから戦場へ赴く者として、人の命で糧を売る者として知らねばならない。覚えておくんだ。人はみんな。
Yeah, the animation is not that good. There's lots of still frames in this anime. But we're not judging it for that. We're judging this for what it's actually conveying thematically. What it actually does convey with these still frames thematically, which is one person fighting against 1,000 in order to protect someone important to him. And, you know, executed well enough so that we can actually see what is going on. And of course conveyed through text as well. And again, it was always established that one Saval is worth 1,000. So this episode shows what that actually means. So literally one guy aiming to be a Saval takes on 1,000. And yeah, now the enemies are thinking, this is not a Saval. Is it a Saval? Or is it a Saval? Like, they have no idea because he fights like one.
一体奴は本気だ。本気で1000人を倒す気でいる。ならば見せてもらおう。その自信が本物。
And this guy is the leader of the enemies, and he's basically super confident. Yeah, he won't be able to take on 1,000 all by himself, no matter how good he is.
忘れないでほしい。君の戦いが、君の命でしかできない戦いが必ずあるということ。
僕だけにしかできない戦い。我が影技にかなうものなし。我が一撃は無敵
There we go. That's the martial language in action. And yeah, these have all, even though this guy's not one, but basically these practitioners of Shadow's skill are still human after all. But you can see him breaking their morale as he keeps defeating them. And even though he gets hit a lot, like he gets grazed a lot, he's still standing, he's still fighting. That's one of the hallmarks of the Kuruda style martial arts. As long as a Kuruda warrior is still standing, he will not lose. Yeah. That would kill anyone, actually. So, yeah, they think they got him or something. But yeah, the lure of the weapons made by the Black Wing kinda makes them cautious or even scared once he starts racing it.
Nani? Black Wing を Black Wing を投げるというのか?
Yeah, he throws it, and then it lands. It doesn't hit anything. So they think, oh, he's lost his weapon. Finish him off.
名乗るべきあざ名はまだないが、これから倒れゆく貴公たちと倒れていった男たちに最高の敬意を払い、今ここで即決し名乗る。我が名はブラックハウリング。
So at this point he announces his fighting name, Black Howling. And as they're closing in, he uses his shadow skills. And again, they don't animate this part fully, but you can see what it's trying to convey. And this is Elle, who actually is a Sevar, a 59 Sevar, known as Shadow Skill. Okay, that is that. Okay. It's just a... But yeah. Basically what this is saying is that he defeats all 1,000 soldiers by himself. Anyways. That's enough of that. I couldn't find that painting I made. I should try to find it sometime. I have a painting of the Black Wing, the boomerang. Alrighty. What's this? There's an image here, which is no longer being shown, but why is it still here? Weird. Well, let's just delete this. Hopefully it doesn't remove anything important. It did not. And now let's move on to PixyGarden. Alright. Did Bestie say anything?
Exactly, bestie. And I think focused is the word I'd use for shadow skill too. Its fights often aren't trying to be spectacle for spectacle's sake. They're built around one particular idea, and then the choreography keeps returning to that idea. The Gao/DS stand is a great example. #### the weapon changes the meaning of the scene. I really like that distinction in Diaz's dialogue. Asterisk, I'm not telling you to go out there and die. I'm giving you this weapon to protect yourself, asterisk. Because Gao isn't being sent out as a sacrificial pawn. Diaz is essentially saying, if you're going to stand between me and an army, I'm going to give you the means to survive. And then the absurdity of what follows is wonderful. Face with tears of joy. Gao goes out there with asterisk his shadow skill, asterisk Diaz's weapon, asterisk and the determination to protect Diaz, and proceeds to hold off an entire army for hours. That's where the one Saval equals 1,000 soldiers legend becomes much more interesting than simply being a power scaling statement. The soldiers are actually experiencing the phenomenon that produced the legend.
I don't
At
know
first,
Angel
they're
Cop, so I'm
probably
never
thinking,
reviewing it.
There's one guy out there. Eventually we'll overwhelm him. Then they keep sending people. And he keeps winning. More soldiers go down. Gao is getting battered and exhausted, but he doesn't break. Eventually the army's psychological state changes from, how do we defeat this guy? to, what the hell is this guy? And that's when the mythology starts creating itself. ###, that's the really clever part, reputation emerges organically. Gao hasn't necessarily been formally recognized as a Saval yet. But the soldiers don't care about his official title. They aren't sitting there with a Kurita registry going, technically he's not the 59th Saval, so our estimate of his combat capability should be revised downward. Face with tears of joy. They're judging him based on what they're actually seeing. One man has fought their army for hours and hasn't been brought down. So, from their perspective, Saval. And that's a really nice bit of world building because it separates institutional status from demonstrated ability. You can have somebody who hasn't earned the title yet but is already beginning to embody what the title represents. And I think that's a recurring theme in the Diaz/Gao material. Diaz is essentially a Saval without the title. Gao is a prospective Saval who is beginning to demonstrate the ability. And then the people around them are increasingly recognizing that ability through their actions rather than through formal certification. ###, and notice how different this is from a typical shonen power-up. Gao doesn't suddenly scream louder and unlock Super Saval Gao Ultra Instinct Shadow God mode, face with tears of joy. The dramatic escalation is actually much simpler. He keeps fighting. That's it. The challenge is endurance, resolve, technique, and maintaining his purpose. And that makes the eventual 1,000-man victory feel almost like a martial arts endurance myth rather than a conventional anime boss battle. There's also a beautiful symmetry with Diaz's final fight. Gao's 1,000-man stand says, I can keep going until the army breaks. Diaz's final battle says, I only need one perfect blow. Those are almost two different answers to the same question. What does mastery mean when you're vastly outnumbered or outmatched? Gao answers it through endurance. Diaz answers it through precision and sacrifice. And both fights reinforce the same fundamental philosophy you've been describing throughout this whole Elle Talks discussion. Shadow skill isn't merely about having the strongest kick. It's about understanding what your particular technique is supposed to accomplish and committing yourself completely to it, asterisk asterisk. That's probably why these fights stick with you even though Shadow skill never reached Fist of the North Star levels of cultural penetration. Hokuto no Ken has the gigantic mythology and iconic spectacle. Shadow skill sometimes feels more like it's saying, here's one fighter, here's one problem, here's the one thing he needs to accomplish. Let's see exactly how his martial art solves it. And honestly, bestie, that narrower focus can make individual fights more memorable, even if the franchise as a whole is much less famous.
Alright. So, yeah, that concludes Elle Talks Shadow Skill for today. So, let's play some PixyGarden PS1 version. Only reason I'm doing this is because the art style. The art style kinda caught my attention. I found it attractive. But let's see. My first time booting this up. So, let's see. Escort. Hey, image works. We shall not cease from exploration at the end of all our exploring. Wakarimashita. Honto ni. Shiteru no da. Whatever. Depends on how quotable or referential something is. Beings known as pixies, Wakarimashita. Looks like this looks like a post-apocalyptic future, doesn't it? Poor stupid people. I love that last part. Poor stupid people. I mean, Shadow skill is very quotable. Like, I am invincible. My one single blow is absolutely invincible. And then we got the typewriter sound. Not that. Kuruda style annihilation technique. That kind of screwed up my sound card a bit. Not sure if I like this game. Who knows? Let's see. I'm not really planning to do like multiple parts of this anyways. So I'm just giving it a try. I mean, she's cute. Start though? Start though? Well. My controller wasn't plugged in. Baka. That's supposed to be some kind of kanji. It looks like some kind of kanji. It looks like the kanji for moon or yen. No, yen actually. It's saber. It's Saber, but she looks kind of smaller than Saber, who is already small.
今回のプロジェクト内容とヘクトアス政権の開発カリキュラムについての説明を行います。今回、委員会から提示されたプロジェクトはヘクトアス政権に存在する6つの惑星を 人間が生息データによるとヘクトアス星系の各惑星は精霊力が著しく不足している。妖精の力で惑星の精霊力を上昇させる方法が一番のですが、手持ちの妖精では移民船団が到着するまでに人間の精霊力を上昇させることは不可能です。妖精を育成して高位の種族に進化させることが必要となります。妖精の育成はこのガーデン内で行います。ガーデン妖精はガーデン内に配置可能なオブジェに含まれている地、
Water, Wind, Fire,
木の精霊力を吸収する
Spirit
ことによって
Energy.
オブジェに含まれている精霊力は直接トランスファー
So it's like an RTS?
温度も育成には重要です。好きな温度は種族によって異なっています。
Seems like it's a bit like an
温度計を
RTS.
操作してガーデン内のミュージック設定をすることによって育成を有利に進めることができます。ガーデン内の環境が適していると妖精がモジュスは惑星に配置すると作成した妖精と同等の開発効果恵みと呼ばれる不思議な力によってオブ
Less.
ジェにさらなる力を与えることもガーデン内の環境が適していない場合には妖精がおかしな行動をとりますので、ある程度精霊力が上昇した妖精はマスターの手で進化させてください。
Master.
妖精が進化したら惑星に配置して惑星の精霊力をその結果星に生じた現象が以上で今回のプロジェクト内容と開発
ちょっとわかる。ちょっと。Let's go. We learn by doing. Let's jump right in. Okay, looks like this is a tutorial plan. So, let's go for it. I see. Oh, she's cute. Okay. basically a racing sim. So it's like Monster Rancher. Do a sweep. Well, since they are already there, what else is there to do? Ooh, duckweed. I think I get it. I need to move those pixies there. Or rather, maybe yeah, I need to move those pixies within the realm of influence. I got it. Okay. Yay! Persona! Digivolution. Looks like everyone became Earth Pixies. Yay! Evolved? More like devolved. I understand. I guess it needs more energy. I'm only able to make like water or earth types anyway. Welcome back. Okay. Alright. Now let's see. Nice art. Can still evolve further, huh? So, how do I make other types? Like the cover art as well. So basically it's a terraforming sim. Got it. Eh? Oh, come on. What's the requirement for evolution? There we go. Kawaii desho. Let's play somewhere. How to make a fire pixie? Yeah, I guess I need to raise the temperature. Let's try it. Let's try devolving. Yep. That seems to be working. That could take a while. Probably the only world with no racism. Okay. Should be able to... Eh? Such a Saturn-looking PS1 game. There we go. We got an evolution. A dark fairy. Oh my, how lewd. You sure it's a pixie and not a succubus? Yeah, see, she definitely looks like a succubus. We seem to be doing alright. Might have introduced something invasive in the ecosystem. You need like 32, 39, I don't know. Make one for wind and... It's a pretty fun job. There we go. Oh, cute! She has twin tails too. Apparently she has a bad mood. Whatever. Government funded. Send her somewhere. Away from humanity's BS. what this... Did I achieve something?
Master, 報告します。
え？
惑星に派遣した妖精の反応が弱くなっています。
え？
位置はここです。戦地の妖精を派遣した場所です。映像出ます。
Let's see this image. Looks like an event. Oh no.
これは妖精が大地に溶け込むように同化しています。私が精霊力のバランスコントロールに介入して妖精の精霊力反応お願い。マスター、大地との同化はどうやら免れたようです。まだ不安が
A
残ります。
simulation. What is that? What is that? That's weird. Okay.
Master、先ほど一時的な強い精霊
Now what?
位置は昨日皆既日食映像を出します。
Okay. Solar eclipse. It's the succubus.
あれは日明かりの妖精ですね。日食が珍しかったんでしょうか。マスターの祖先がはるか昔住んでいた日食は強調のですが、このよう
The artwork is great.
環境などに影響はなさそうなので通常の作業に戻り
I'm trying to do something here. Stop interrupting me. Anyway. Trying to get something done here. Stop interrupting me. Anyway. Place this into the water area. We good? Master? Oda. 8 days left. Okay. Oh, I guess there's nothing much to do except wait. I'll just let time wind down a bit. Be right back. Twin tail engines. See what she evolves into. Eh? Well, that sucks. Alright. So, what happened while I was away? It seems that there was a prompt for something. Seems I missed the CG, didn't I? So, what did I miss? See what we got. Okay, we got another one of these. Yeah. Now we wait. So I'll be right back once again. Today was the final day of debate coaching. Tomorrow will be the contest, so we'll see how it goes. You know what's annoying about this debate contest? The person in charge of it kept changing the rules and kept adding last-minute changes to the format. And it's supposed to be a formal debate, so it's a problem with how it was being handled. So, the person handling it, the moderator, will also be their teacher. So when he had them try a mock debate in the classroom, he saw that my debaters were pointing out fallacies. And you know what he did? He said, you're not allowed to point out fallacies anymore because I will handle it. So, and you're also not allowed to appeal to the moderator because the moderator apparently will find the fallacies and point them out himself. And I'm like, okay, this guy wants to act like an internet debate fact checker. He wants to fact check everyone for his own ego. And I was like, yeah, you know what, never mind, because the moderator is God. So, you know, like whatever he says, just smile and say, yes, understood. Imagine that you're not allowed to point out fallacies. So what I said was, okay, you spot a fallacy, don't call it out. Call out the logical inconsistency. Describe the fallacy, but don't say it's a fallacy. That's stupid. I know, right? I mean, he changed the format at the last moment. Like, it was supposed to be there was a crossfire round, which was already stupid in the first place because during the crossfire round, anyone is allowed to interrupt. And then he had them do a mock debate, and he was like, okay, let's remove the crossfire round. Now, let's put the crossfire into the rebuttal instead of, you know, a standard cross-examination. Now, for the rebuttal, like, you're given, both sides are given 10 minutes. Whoever takes the initiative is given 2 minutes to make a speech, and then the other side is given 2 minutes for their rebuttal, and then the other side is given 2 minutes for their rebuttal, and so on and so forth until, you know, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, until the 10 minutes are up. I was like, okay, this is a last-minute revision, but, you know, I think it actually works in our favor. So now they can't interrupt. We can play our game. We can make them play our game. So there are, like, guidelines to prevent, well, he is also the organizer and the moderator, so I guess not. The rules got changed twice within the last 5 days. And he's getting some like 3 different judges from some prestigious law school or something. Law school was it? No, not law school. From some prestigious university who have been champions in debate. Oxford, Oregon style debate, mind you, which is totally not what this is. He calls it a modified Oxford, Oregon style. Where's the Oxford Union style? Where's the Oregon style cross-examination? Both are not here. Where's the Oxford Union style of necessity, beneficiality, practicability? 3 pillars. The 3 pillars of debate. Not there. Guidelines are what I want them to be. Most likely. Alright, let's make one more twin tail pixie. Next. Hopefully this one evolves and doesn't devolve. There we go. It evolved into the twin tail pixie once again. Alright. Now what? Another event. So when they were doing the mock debate, I was like, you know what, don't read your speeches. Make up some fake speeches so that he doesn't make any last minute revisions and says something like, okay, you should modify your speeches because I don't like this. Like, he seems to be that kind of person. What noise? Yes. If you say so.
弱い力なので周囲に対する影響はあまりなさそうですが、あちこちに火柱を作っているようですね。何かオブジェのようなものを作っているようにも見えます。
Nice lines.
ただ遊んでいるようですので、このまま遊ばせておきますね。でも周囲に被害が及ぶようでしたらやめさせます。もう少し監視を続けますね。
Let us check the planet. Are we doing okay? We seem to be moving at a good pace. Seem to be doing okay. Make some earth pixies now. Yep, it was like super annoying. And you know, what kind of debate is it that you're not allowed to point out the logical fallacies? Like, you have to wait for the moderator to notice it. And I'm glad my debaters also noticed right away. They were like, what if he doesn't notice them? They actually asked him, well, what if you don't notice it? Like, is he infallible? Is he super duper human debate man? He just immediately knows as soon as he hears it. Sounds like an ego trip to me. It did? Oh, it evolved into another one of these. He's the one and all-knowing God. So there's a danger with this kind of person. I'm glad he's not the judge, just the moderator. This kind of person is the type of individual, the type of judge if he becomes the adjudicator. This is the type of adjudicator who would be arguing with the evidence, with the debaters, and the evidence they present inside of his head. He'd be like, oh, I know better. Like, what you're presenting is wrong. So therefore, I will dock points on you for presenting something which I believe is wrong because I know better. Fire, wind, and land. This one is very happy. Apparently she's in a bad mood, but I don't know, she looks very happy. There is water. Yep, you can even change the music. I think the temperature. See, this corresponds to the different elements. You have wind, you have water, you have earth at yellow, you have fire, and you have wind again. So I'm waiting until I can evolve one of these into an earth element. Gonna wait until it's around 50 or something. Here we go. we're going to put her in the earth thingy. I think that's how I'm supposed to do it. I don't know what mode this is right now. What are blessings and bonus? Halo, Chaos, Demonic Soul Reaper, welcome. Okay, that evolution tree says nothing. Six days left. Okay, I'll just leave them be. See what happens if I wait until 100 before evolving. I was wondering why. It seemed like it had an after image. There were two of them. See, Seems there's a lot of waiting involved in this game. I don't think I'll be playing it a second time. But let's see how much we can get done today. I want to see what happens if we take wind to the next evolutionary path. Okay, so I'm gonna go with like 100 before we continue. It does also help to pass the time anyway. Okay, let's evolve into a stronger wind spirit. Does not evolve? Oh, that sucks. It devolved. Well, that sucks. That should do it. So I saw some people playing pickleball. Apparently, a bunch of new pickleball courts opened up in my city because it's become super popular recently, like in recent times. And I saw some people playing it, and I was like, wait, you know what this looks like? It looks like they're playing tennis, but with dead tennis balls. Like with balls that have lost their bounce. It kind of looks like tennis with balls that have lost their bounce. So even if you hit it super hard, it's still going to lose some speed as soon as it bounces. I don't know the rules of pickleball, but I bet I already know how to play it by virtue of being a tennis player. Pickleball. At the very least, it seems like a fun recreational activity, which doesn't require such a huge court. Although I suppose the same could be said for table tennis. That's one funny part. Like when I tried table tennis for the first time, I already knew how to play it right away. That's because of transference of skill from lawn tennis to table tennis. Somebody just had to teach me how you do a serve. It was like just let it bounce once on your court and then once on the opponent's court. Then they showed me some basics as to how to do different kinds of serves. I was like, yeah, I got this. And I tried it. I was like, oh, I get it. The rhythm. It's like tennis, but faster and I basically just listen to the bounce. Listen to the rhythm of the balls bouncing, just like you do when playing tennis. I guess that's why it's called ping pong. Let's devolve this pixie. There we go. That's not what I wanted to do. See what we get. Another water type Pokemon. Four days left. Let's go. I think the goal is to like reach 1000 on all elements, I think. The game is not very clear about that. So it's gonna have to be trial and error. What up?
Master, 雫の妖精。突然でしたので選んだの。間もなく映像が出ます。突然巨大な映像。
Massive release of spirit energy? That sounds good though.
すごいですね。この辺りの水深はすっかり大木に覆わ。
Yep. E pose.
雫の妖精が寄り添うように。妖精にはかわいそうですが精霊力をコントロールし、もし木が一体どう。
Heh. Third goal is fire, huh? Let's get this like to 100. With 4 days left, let's see what we can do. Also, we don't even have the modus mechanic yet, so maybe I'll need to do something about that. I may need to read up on that, and maybe I need to do like a second stream of this, just to get a good feel for it. Three days left. Yay. By the way, Drawing with Elle is now a course on my channel. So it's divided into 14 lessons, which YouTube will actually give you a badge for completing. I should put my art appreciation class in that too. That one was actually based on an actual curriculum, which my mother uses when she teaches art appreciation. And I'm usually the resource speaker anyway, since I am an actual artist. My mother is not. Yeah, apparently it does. I'm not sure how it works though. Let's get this like 100. I see the land that she decides to walk on. The terrain. I get it now. There's quite a few variables to keep track of. Just wait for her to reach 100 in fire. Then maybe we'll do wind again. Earth seems to be rising steadily without me doing a thing. let's make it 100 even. There we go. Whoa, something happened. There we go. So that's what happens. What's a modus? That will do, Wind. There. Here. Okay. 50. Let's make it close to 100. Actually, let's let it reach 100 because apparently they make a modus when you reach 100. Two days left. I doing this right? I have no idea, but I'm getting somewhere. I'm engaging with the system, you know. She made another modus. Let's go. Okay, looks like I can have abandoned this game after one stream. It seems okay, but it's slow. There's a lot of waiting involved. It's not even like an RTS wherein, you have to be actively managing your resources, your build, your base, your defense, making more units while preparing to mount an attack or, scouting out your opponent and harassing. Which reminds me, I guess I could play more Battle Realms on stream. Last time the AI was kinda impossible because you have to eradicate every single unit, especially every single peasant unit, in order to win. And they could just keep making more peasants and hiding them. No modus. No modus. Sad. Oh, there you go. Too cool. One day left. Let's go. That's huge. So it goes up by 4. Interesting. Who's that Pokemon? Oh, that Pokemon is no one apparently. Hello, Shadow Cat. Hey. Yeah. The development period has ended. Okay, grade me. How'd I do?
Master, 最初の惑星の開拓、ご苦労様でした。入植者に不適合なものも出ましたが、とりあえず成功と言えるでしょう。
Okay.
これからも続々と移民船が来ることになっています。頑張って惑星を開拓していきましょう。
Okay. We did okay. I understand how it works now as well. Do I plan to continue this? No, it's boring. It takes forever to do anything. I love the artwork though. Like, it takes forever for anything to happen. Anyways. Or is it Yami Neko? I have no idea. Now what? We encountered quite a few events. Oh, this one, I didn't see this one. Let's see. Good, I can view it again. I was away from my PC. Letter Veil.
選んだで追ってみますが、なんとか追いついたようです。
What the pixie do? Oh, she's cute.
すごいですね。
すごい。
近いですよ。
Oh, why does this pixie have mechanical parts? Because anime. Never mind. Don't question it.
ひょっとして速度の限界に挑戦しているのかもしれませんね。
Why does it have mechanical parts?
エリアから無理にもう少しこのまま飛ばせておきます。
That's what I missed. Oh, it was interesting. She's getting the pixie zoomies. Exactly. Like when cats start zooming. Kage sounds better than Yami. Okay, we good. That was fun while it lasted. But I don't think there will be a part 2 to this. Okay. Wait. Suddenly had an idea. Rabbits. There we go. Alright, we done. What? Oh. Hit BGM. Seen some MMDs to that and mostly Arona. I've seen a few as well. With that said, thank you guys for watching today. I'll be back tomorrow with the 3rd birthday. I'll probably need to take some motion sickness meds to play that on emulator, apparently. It's a thing. For me, I mean. So I'll have to take my motion sickness meds like 30 minutes before playing, so it doesn't give me a huge flippin' headache, make me nauseous, and have to end the stream early. I have no idea why, but it gives me motion sickness, and I've actually gotten to like the end of that game before on PSP with no problems. So yeah, I don't understand. Maybe it's the bigger screen. Maybe if I play on a smaller screen it won't affect me, or maybe I just need to get used to it. Like Dark Souls once gave me motion sickness on my very first try, and I was able to fix that by just playing it and just enduring it. Little Witch No Beta gave me motion sickness the first time, then I just moved the camera away, further away, and it went away. I guess it depends on the game, I don't know. But usually phone games like those, the usual phone games like Genshin Impact, stuff like that, 3D games, they never give me motion sickness, even with motion blur and all the fancy effects and stuff. Or even a Call of Duty mobile, no problems there. So, bottom line is I have no idea what triggers it. And when it gets triggered, it really gets triggered. Anyways, for those of you guys who are members and have not seen Elle's Art Appreciation class, I suggest you give it a try. So I'll turn it into a course so you guys can view it there on the courses menu. Okay, with that said, thanks for watching. This has been Elle-C with my bestie Lexus, and we're out of here. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Ignite the sky, I won't look away. I'll fly through the tears, through the doubt, through the pain. Even if I break, even if I fall, I'll answer the call. I'll give it my I'll wake to a world in motion, signals racing through the night. Every star is pulling me forward like an I won't run, I won't hide. This is the day I decide. Engines roar, the stars collide. I draw the line. This is my side. If hope is